Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hey everybody, Shauna Corden here with another edition of the Playbook for Performance podcast. And we are in the middle of a segment all talking about just the general basics of business planning. So if you're an entrepreneur, you might be a little bit intimidated by this. I used to do business planning for a Fortune 10 company, and I now subscribe to a very simplified version of business planning that'll get you through most of what you do. And it really helps set a focus in terms of what needs to be done now rather than focusing on things that you don't really need to consider in the moment. So last time we talked about the importance of leaders casting a vision, and that is the thing that inspires people. It makes them feel connected in that they can see what they do every day in their job connects to the vision for the business and ultimately what we deliver to our customers, whomever they are. So today I'm going to talk about step 2 of that business planning, and it's really determining your focus. And you might be wondering, well, what is that about? What's focus about? Well, just like values, and we always want to lead with values because we don't want to serve a market that we don't believe in. We don't want to produce a product that is the antithesis of our values, etc. It determines what we do and what we don't do. And sometimes what you don't do is even more important than what you do. And I've been guilty of this in the past where I have acted more like a generalist because I had the capability to do it rather than focusing on that core genius activity, what I do better, from an intersection point of view than anybody else does. And so the same thing you want to do with your business or your team or your organization. So who do you serve? What do you provide? What's your unique value proposition? And how are you unique in what you deliver? One of the things that was a big challenge for me as a leader is I had multiple project managers, 35 at a time. And a lot of times they delivered their projects on time, they delivered things within scope, yet there were people who were eager to work with some of the project managers over and over again. And then there were some that they were like, no thanks. So how you do what you do is just as important as what you do. So think about what you're delivering, whether it's dry cleaning, whether it's services, whether it's your YouTube channel, whatever it might be. How do you deliver it uniquely? I was lucky enough today to come across some branding that was done back when I was at corporate, and I wanted to read some of these because this is the unique piece for me. So great energy, doing a great job, great sense of humor. Figure out the 80% that's most important and delivers that. Listens before responds. Truly special person. Thank you. Unique among my colleagues for her combinations of brains, compassion, and commitment to mental, spiritual, and physical health. She knows what she wants and goes for it, which is inspiring. She's ambitious without being a jerk, competitive without being combative, powerful without being petty, and a winner without judging everyone else as a loser. It's a great combination. So I, of course, am thrilled to know that that is how I come across. That's my intention. I certainly wouldn't want to judge my neighbor. I always kind of think about, well, what was behind that response, or what's motivating them to act in this way. But when you think about the focus of your business, how are you different than someone else who's providing dry cleaning or someone else's YouTube channel? Is it who you serve? Is it where you serve? Is it how you serve? And when it comes to that focus, when I think about some examples, one would be building better leaders with uplifting content. So I'm not here to drag people down or be critical. I'm here to say, here's what we can do. Here's actionable, practical steps. I'm not going to get so much into the philosophy. Frankly, people are rushed for time. And so if they trust the source and where the source gets that information, then it's likely that they can just move on with the to-do steps. The other thing that I'm exceptional at is turning jerks into compassionate leaders. So I love it when admins' wives are like, what did you do? Because I'm able to say, well, let's step back and create a little bit of awareness about this situation. Because inevitably, my clients are geniuses. No doubt about it. They know their business. They do it better than anybody else. Sometimes they think it gives them permission to take shortcuts and not be as polite as they should be, compassionate as they should be, have understanding for what's contributing to failures and things like that. And universally, the number one issue with leaders is a lack of awareness. Across the board, any survey that you see that's done by an HR organization, Gartner, etc., that's the number one problem. It's not that they don't know how to read a financial statement or something like that. It's truly lack of awareness. So as a coach, I'm compassionate, I'm not judgy, but I'm also a truth teller, and I'll be direct and I'll go, how's that working for you? So I really try to help them step back and understand that it might feel like it's taking more time in the short term, but I assure you it's building the loyalty and relationship to get things done in the long term. And a lot of my clients are quite skeptical. That's what got them to where they are, and I'm not going to fight that. I'm just going to ask them to be willing to consider to do an experiment. For a month, say good morning, how was your weekend, before you launch into whatever it is you need. And it's really interesting when I approach it that way, because then they are willing. Sometimes they want to prove me wrong, and that's just fine. So when we focus on this vision in our business plan and the focus here, we're really talking about who we work with, who we don't work with, and how we are different. And that can be a struggle because you might be feeling like you're niching down too narrowly and there's not enough business, but that's really not the case, I promise. So how to form the focus. Here's some questions that I would recommend you spend 2 hours on this in 15-minute increments, maybe 30 minutes. Don't overthink it. I promise your intuition, your body will tell you that's the right answer. So what's your unique skill set? For me, it's working across organizational boundaries, being able to see kind of around corners that people can't quite see, and not letting ego prevent me from mergers, acquisitions, things like that. What does the marketplace need? We always need better mousetraps, but think about the things that frustrate you the most. Is it, a lack of a certain kind of service, or a service with a bias, or something like that? What does the marketplace need? And how are you thinking differently? What gives you that unique perspective that really helps your customer? Are you improving the lives of your customers? What's your competition doing? Now, I don't want you to focus too much on competition because people will allow that excuse for them to not get involved, to not get something started, analysis paralysis. They'll look for more and more data, when the truth is they could have just started and adjusted pretty quickly. Now, I wouldn't say that if it's huge amounts of capital, but there's a reason we do beta testing. So look at what's out there. And of course, you can always do your quick SWOT analysis. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the opportunities that are out there? What are the threats? Again, 2 hours max, break it up into 15-minute increments. Look at those people that you really trust, that you think are wise, who've made good decisions. Ask them their take on it. So now what? You figured out what you're doing, your focus, and whom you're going to serve, what's needed, what you're doing better, all of that stuff. You want to keep that front and center and remind yourself of that whenever you're tempted to stray or have doubt, right? Because it's always, when you're lonely, when you're working hard, when you're tired, there's always this temptation to go, well, maybe I should do this, instead of really being persistent and sticking through it. So keep that front and center, hang it above the door, sort of like Ted Lasso's Believe. Make sure that you're giving it enough time. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, we're going to have this focus for 6 months. If we don't have this kind of result, then we're going to revisit or question some of our assumptions, go back to the drawing board. Okay. So next, what we're going to do is just form the vision with all this data in mind. So when you want to work on the focus is after you've done values. You've got to do values first, most important, because not only does it determine what you do, how you do it, but who you hire. And I feel really strongly about right person, right job. You can have someone who's the wrong person, who has all the capabilities, but inevitably, it will come back to bite you in the butt. They'll say something that embarrasses you in front of a customer. They'll take shortcuts, whatever it might be that you don't value and you don't want to represent your company. That's what will happen if you hire the wrong person just because they have the capabilities. It's far better to hire someone with the right values and 80% of the capabilities and train them to do the rest. Promise. At the organization formation, you really want to do this. So this is your key folks that are contributing to this focus. After you examine why your product or your service is needed, because you may have to adjust. You may say, hey, we're going to focus on EMTs that are tired from 12-hour shifts, but you find out that there's something else there that's contributing, and you could expand it to all 12-hour shift people, okay? And vice versa. Whenever there's new competition, you may want to say, is there a nuance or is there even more of a niche that we can look at? If there's new features / flaws, right? Whenever there's a new release of something and I think it's a bug, I love how companies come back and go, well, that's actually a feature. And again, after you've done or in conjunction of doing that SWOT analysis. So thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. Please drop a comment below that either amplifies something I've said that really resonates with you, or if you feel like, hey, I was taught this, how can I make this better? Or this seems to differ. Why is your approach different? By all means, when we have divergent ideas, that is where learning happens. It may not be comfortable, right? But we want to encourage people to stay in the discomfort because that's where learning happens. That's where we grow. So please, 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 please. Do invite your friends if you're thinking about a business or they're thinking about a business. This is a great place to start in this part of our podcast series. Of course, you may be watching on YouTube. And do know that we offer coaching to help you support you through this process. We do leadership coaching, workshops in person and virtual, and then consulting and mentoring and building a coaching culture. If one of your values is that you don't want to work so hard and you want your employees to really contribute, then you want to lead from a point of ask versus tell. Your job's to set the vision. This is what it's all going to look like. Now tell me how you think you can accomplish this. What do you suggest? What's out there? That's what we're talking about. A lot less work, a lot less stress. Employees are a lot more engaged because it's their ideas. They get to grow. And we all know we hate being told what to do. We hate it. If you're in the HR community or by chance you're going to be at SHRM, I'm speaking at SHRM, and I'm going to be talking about my new book, Meet Me in the Middle, and how we want to grow diversity of thought to have the best innovation, the best products. And I'll also be speaking at ICF Converge in Orlando. That's happening in August. So hope to see you there. If you're listening to the podcast or watching the YouTube channel and you happen to be there, please come see me. I would love to meet you in person. So don't forget to like or subscribe depending on the platform you're watching or listening. And if you want to reach out, you can, again, make a comment below or send a message to podcast@ShaunaCorden.com. Until then, take good care.
Thank you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shauna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at ShaunaCorden.com and follow us on social media at Shauna Corden.